What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're doing a match breakdown video today for the 2025 Factory Gun Nationals, and it was a banger. It was pretty fun. Super excited to kind of go through these. The way I'm going to do these videos, because there were 20 stages, and it was 3 days of shooting, I'm going to do this in a 3-part series. So we're going to break it down day by day. Overall, match was super fun, and it was my very first Nationals. Meant to make it to Nationals last year, but, you know, had a kid a couple days before, so wasn't able to make it. And so this being my first Nationals, it was a super fun experience. I got to shoot on the Howitzer squad with all the homies, so that was a ton of fun. And yeah, it's great seeing a bunch of friends, meeting new friends, and yeah, overall it was a super fun experience. I'm very excited for next year. Now, as far as the stages go, I think overall people were a little disappointed in the stage design, or like the overall design of all the stages. They were very straightforward, very little difficult shooting. There were a couple swingers in there that were pretty difficult, but not very many partials, no hardcover targets, no hardcover partials. You know, like I said, just really very little difficult shooting. I mean, I want to say there was probably, I don't know, maybe 20-30 partials total. There really were not that many partials. Just in general, not very little difficult targets. So it was a very straightforward match, and some people kind of thought it was more on the hoser side of things, which I wouldn't totally agree, because there were definitely some stages that were lower hit factor, that were not just 9, 8, 9, 10 hit factor stages. So it was definitely not a hoser match. However, the stages were very straightforward, and you know, pretty stark contrast from previous Nationals, from what I've heard and seen, with Nationals having a lot of just super far difficult targets, partials at 40 yards, you know, mini poppers at 40 yards, that kind of stuff. And there really wasn't any of that. So for me personally, I guess I was maybe a little bit disappointed in some of the stage designs. You know, you go to Nationals, it's the most difficult match of the year. You're kind of expecting to be challenged in just more ways, or in ways that you just can't really be challenged anywhere else. However, you know, you're still competing against the best in the world, right? The best in the country. And to me, like, I guess it doesn't really matter as much, you know, exactly what the stages look like. There were still difficult stages with the swingers and things like that. And at the end of the day, it still comes down to execution. So for me personally, I wasn't like that mad about it, maybe a little disappointed, but at the end of the day, the stages were still super fun. As far as my results go, I got 13th, so I missed Super Squad by 0.4% in carry optics. So I lost it to my buddy Eric Shaw. So shout out to Eric. He got me by 0.4%, the little shyster. But yeah, so first Nationals, almost making Super Squad. Can't be too mad about that. Would have been a lot cooler if I actually did do it, but you know, is what it is. I definitely made some mistakes, and you know, results are the results. So overall, pretty happy with it. So I got 13th out of 404 in carry optics, and then I got 17th out of 522. So pretty decent for my first Nationals. I'm actually pretty happy about that. Now, as far as the equipment I used, I used my kind of Franken MMP here. This is these uppers and lower. The upper and lower here is not supposed to be together. It's because I had a broken trigger, which I now since got a replacement from Apex. So shout out to Apex. They sent me a whole new trigger shoe and installed it on my trigger bar and sent it back to me. So that was really cool. But I had that actually when I got back from Nationals, so I still had to use this. I did have a couple malfunctions, which I'll talk about. Actually, probably not in this video, maybe next video, because I believe day one, I don't think I had any malfunctions. But I did have a couple malfunctions, and you know, whether or not that's due to the gun, the ammo, maybe my magazines, not totally sure. But I did clean and lube this, beforehand, I have not had any issues with this setup so far with any majors this year, so the fact that it happened at Nationals, kind of ironic. But overall, this thing shot really good. Apex barrel in here with a Treasure Crown SRO. This is the Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0, the 5-inch. So overall, really happy with it. Shot really well, and I was shooting Atlanta Arms 147 grain, which shot awesome. Once again, I'm not totally sure with the malfunctions that I had, if it was ammo-related, maggot-related, or gun-related. I'm just not totally sure. But accurate ammo, and it's certified, so even if I didn't make chrono, it wouldn't DQ me from the match, which is nice. But I did chrono with, I believe, a 128 power factor, so chrono, no problem. And then also running my Howitzer Battle Comp belt with my Hammer Armament Balder holster, and then I got my magnet prototype mag pouch there with a couple other mag pouches, T-Rex Arms mag pouches, which are nothing really special, but they are riding on Blade Tech Mount Minis, which is fun. And then wearing Howitzer gear also, as usual. So shout out to Howitzer, everything they've done for the sport. It's just super cool to go to the biggest match of the year and to see just Howitzer everywhere. It's really cool. I'm very, very thankful to be a small part in that. One small thing I forgot to add. I thought this was kind of funny. I got this idea from my buddy Brendan. To have my spare slide have a Holosun 509T enclosed emitter optic, because one thing that is notoriously known at the Marengo ranged Cardinal Shooting Center is that it rains all the freaking time. So I figured, hey, if I'm going to be shooting in the pouring rain, I brought towels and raincoats and ponchos and backup slides with an enclosed emitter. Thankfully, didn't really need to use all that stuff. Had to use it a little bit, but I never had to use this. Had to break out the rain gear a little bit, but overall, it was very tame. So the weather we had over the 3 days, honestly, it was really, really hot. It was very hot and kind of miserable, but honestly, can't complain that much. It was pretty nice. So with that, let's dive into it. All right. So we started on stage 20. We started on zone 3 on the first day, zone 3. We started on stage 20. Had a decent finish. Had an 80.64% run on this. So this was a 23 round stage. I ran this in 12:09 with only 3 Charlies. So right off the bat, I was looking at this with the stage plan. There was mostly the 2 stage plans that people were talking about was either starting on the left here or starting more so on the right here, and then kind of working their way across right here, shooting these guys, and then going to the left corner, and then ending up front. For me personally, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go left. It just kind of is what felt better, and I started kind of off to the left there, so then 1 step out, I could already start taking that target on the move, and I smashed 2 alpha on the entry, so that by the time I settled, I could take the steel. Now, those steel are not super far away. I want to say they were only maybe 17 yards, something like that, but I knew that I had to go 1 for 1 on steel in order to make this a good run. So first stage of the day, it's Nationals. I'm not feeling like, hey, I'm going to absolutely crush the stage and burn the stage down, but I knew that I had to be somewhat aggressive on the targets that I could. So you can see the first 4 shots. Transition, a little slow, but like overall, not too bad. I know that I had 1 Charlie on those 2 targets. And then across here. And then I was thinking about potentially taking this target right away on the move, but, I just was worried about the 180. Like, at Nationals, you're at 178 or 175. Like, I don't know. I've paid a lot of money to be at this match. There's a lot on this, a lot at stake for this match, a lot on the line, and I'm not going to take a chance about coming close to the 180. So I was like, you know what? I'll take it at the end. Yes, I'm taking it static, but I'm also lefty, so moving across to the right is a little awkward, and it's also like up range a little bit too. So I was like, you know what, let me just do like kind of an explosive push off and then just take those 2 targets on the move. And then reload. The reload went a little rough. You can see I was already static by the time I was shooting the first target, which was not ideal, but you know, is what it is. So overall, not a bad stage. 80% stage, you know, is what it is.
Stand by. If you're finished, unload your clip.
All right, so then we went to stage 14 for this one. And this was also a stage that had some different stage plans from guys. Some guys were actually starting up front. A lot of the Super Squad guys were doing that. And at first when I heard that, I didn't understand why. I was like, that doesn't, it just, and I tried it and it didn't really flow. But after watching them run it, you know, over and over, I'm like, okay, yep, I can see it. I still don't think I would do it, even if I could do it again. It just did not flow well for me. And to be totally honest, my execution on this stage was not very good, but it was still an 80% stage, which is not that good. But you know, it was, the time was 20.8 with 7 Charlie. But I know that if I would have gone 1 for 1 on that steel, we can even look here and see. I'm actually very curious. So that, those 2 makeups cost me about 2.5 seconds, maybe 3 seconds. So if I go in here to stage 14 and I go to edit scores, let's just call it 2 seconds to be safe. So 18.8. If I just change it to that, that would change it from an 80% stage to an 89% stage, which is much better. So to me, I don't think my stage plan was bad. There was definitely some guys that were not understanding why I did the stage plan I did, going for the steel right away. But the whole reason I did is because of the headbox swinger. I wanted to get that swinger activated as soon as possible without starting in the front. Because the benefit of starting in the front that the Super Squad guys had was activating the steel right off the bat, so that by the time they actually got to this headbox only swinger, or pretty much headbox only swinger, like it was very tame. Like it wasn't you know, going too crazy. And so for me, I was like, well, I'm not going to get that benefit, but at least if I activate the steel right away, then I could at least have it go, you know, 3-4 rotations or cycles or swings, so that, you know, it's a little easier. Versus most guys were taking these 4 targets right off the bat and then entering in on the steel, activating the steel, going the 2 open, and then the swinger. And I was like, you know what? I'm standing in a spot where I can see the popper. Might as well activate it, right? But like I said, just poor execution, poor shot calling. The funny thing is, I specifically remember seeing my dot on the target for the first time, which means that I pushed into the gun, or I changed pressures with my dominant hand. So the reason you miss, right? Either least common reason is your gun's not zeroed or your gun barrel shot out, but like the only 2 reasons you miss is you weren't aiming in the right spot, or you were aiming in the right spot and you just moved the gun off that spot when you pulled the trigger. So mine was the latter, because I know my dot was on the target and I moved it. So yeah, kind of bad execution there. Everything else felt pretty decent, actually. That one I lost my dot a little bit, but then I went Alpha Charlie on the swinger, actually. So I was pretty happy about that. And then I decided to do the reload right away, and then take these 2 targets on the move. So overall, the flow felt pretty good. Like I said, if I could have shaved off another 2 or 3 seconds off of that, that would have been close to a 90% run, which would have been very good, and that would have bumped me to Super Squad. So, but I can't think about that. Anyways, so yeah, is what it is, right? Not an amazing stage, but first 2 stages of nationals, 80%ers, like, not the end of the world. I'll take it. All right, so we get to the 3rd stage of the day, which is stage 15, and I'm very happy to say I had a stage win on this one, which is pretty cool, and I'm actually curious to know if I actually had an overall stage win on this one. I believe I had an overall stage win, yeah, which it's carry optics, so obviously it's not amazing. It's not anything special. But, yeah, I had a stage win on this one, which was cool. I ran it in 16.75 with only 2 Charlie. Christian Seiler was right behind me. He only had 2 Charlie, but I ran it about 0.4 seconds faster than he did. So, yeah, really connected on this stage. Stage plan was pretty straightforward. Some guys... So these 3 targets, everyone was doing that, starting on the left. But then this right array, some people were doing a little bit different. I decided to take all 4 of these. So this open, 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 and then this far open here to eliminate the risk of this no-shoot steal. I did not take the big popper, though, because I had to go up and take the steal next to it anyways. So that wasn't a big deal. But then I elected to take this paper and this little IPSC steel on the move. I wanted to flow through so that I could take that open paper and then immediately reload. And if you watch, I never stopped moving. I had little pauses, but I never stopped moving, which is what really helped me flow through the stage. So yeah, went 1 for 1 on steel. It's very helpful. This stage had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so 5 pieces of steel. So going 1 for 1 on steel is helpful. Also, overall, yeah, felt really good about this stage. And this was the 3rd stage of the day, stage 15. And yeah, pretty cool to have a stage win on that.
Stand by.
Okay, so that was rough. This was one of the stand and deliver stages. That was one thing that I didn't really talk about in the beginning. There was some uproar from myself included about having 4 static, like stand and deliver stages, like classifier type stages. I personally don't love to see those kinds of stages at nationals. Maybe like an area match or something, but at nationals, it's like personally would much rather do more field courses or something like that. But whatever, shooting is still shooting, right? And a short course like this, or stand and deliver stage like this, I mean, you should be able to put up, because it's just fundamentals. It's actually really, really basic stuff. So with this one, I just absolutely bombed it. This was a 66.6% run. And it's because I was a second behind. I was 1.3 seconds behind everyone, the top guys. So, yeah, that's not great. The top guys, Max Michel ran it in a 366, 372, 372, 378. So I was literally 1.5 seconds behind. And it's because I literally had 3 makeups on steel. I had two alpha on the bobber, but I mean, let's be real. That didn't really exactly help me out on the stage. So not good there. This is only a 35-point stage, so not a 40-point stage. I'm sorry. So a 40-point stage. I lost to 15 points. So not the end of the world. It's not a super high point stage, but at the end of the day, you got to be consistent. It's nationals. It doesn't really matter what stage it is. You still have to be consistent, and I didn't. Now, nice thing is I was at least paying attention to the bobber. I had my peripheral, awareness on. So after I missed, I was seeing it. I wasn't just going to war and attacking steel and then getting behind. And I at least transitioned to the bobber and got 2 alpha, and And then doing these super wide transitions that I go 1-for-1 on steel. I'm retarded. But anyways, yeah, overall not a super great stage. This was stage 17. So this was like a split stage in the same bay. So you ran the previous stage and then this one right away, right off the bat. So this was stage 16. Did pretty well on this stage, and nice little fun burner stage. And also a stage like this at nationals, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's personally not my favorite, but once again, shooting is shooting is what it is. But yeah, I did have, let's see. I did have 5 Charlie on this, but I was going as fast as I could, so that helped. You know, this is a speed stage, but once again, it's one of those things like to see this kind of a stage at nationals is not ideal. But some guys were kind of debating whether or not to enter on the two open targets and then, you know, finish on that one the way I did, or to actually enter on this target and then back out on these two. To me personally, you know, I walked it both ways several times, and entering in on this open target here and then backing out on these 2 opens, it just didn't feel good. And I don't think it worked as good as some people thought. And especially when I was just watching people that had that stage plan actually execute it, they weren't backing out enough just because it's so tight and they're shooting so fast. They're maybe taking one small step. But to me, it's like, you know, I'd rather just take it on the entry and then on the lean, just take a little drop step and then immediately present my gun, which my gun's a little late. My gun should be up right now, but is what it is. And then that upside down target was a little tricky. I remembered looking at that and being like, okay, my eyes have to be very precise in where I'm looking. Otherwise, I'm literally going to throw 2 Charlie right above the alpha. So that was good. Had 2 alpha there, and then coming across here, I probably ended a little too deep. You didn't exactly have to go that deep, but I was like, you know what? I'm taking them on the entry. I'll just take them. Not really a huge deal there. Okay, so this is stage 18. So I had an okay stage on this. This was an 81% run. My time was slow. This is a low hit factor stage. The high hit factor on this is JJ. He had a 6.8. Wow, that's actually really good. I didn't realize that till now. 6.8, that's actually really good. At the time when I shot this, the high hit factor was like a 5.7, I believe, or 5.8. So when I was looking at that, I'm like, you know what? It's a low hit factor stage, so like points are going to be very important. I'm not going to prioritize, you know, just blazing and going fast because you have a lot of far targets. So I need to shoot a lot of alphas. Now, funny enough, I didn't really do that. I still had 4 Charlie on a 26-round stage, so that's not great. It needed to be more like 2 or 3 Charlie. And the top guys like JJ and Christian only had 2 Charlie. So, well, JJ had 4 Charlie. Christian had 2 Charlie. But as far as my stage plan goes, I feel good about the stage plan. Once again, like the time lost, I think, is on the makeup shots, because if you think a makeup shot on this stage when you're shooting a far target is going to be 0.6, you know, and so you had 3 makeup shots, you just lost almost 2 seconds, which I did have made 3 makeup shots. So right off the bat, taking the partial and the open. I decided to enter on this guy. Some people were debating whether or not, because you can see these far targets here, some people were debating, hey, do you take all 3 of these and then this one in the corner in the first position here? I mean, personally, I didn't want to. I just elected to take this guy. And I wanted to take it on the entry and I believe I threw 2 Charlie on it. It might have been Alpha Charlie. I can't remember, but I know for sure it was like sketchy. I was like, that didn't feel really good. And then entering out of there was good, but still too slow through that array. And then once again, same as the first stage, stage 20, I got stuck on the reload. It's a weak side reload, but I'm usually pretty good at weak side reloads, so that's not an excuse. But yeah, ended up sticking the load a little late and actually completing it late to where I was pretty much static versus I wanted to have my gun up and shooting that target a little earlier, so probably lost half a second there, at least, maybe 3/4 of a second. There's that, and then I kind of grabbed the wall to launch off if I could. And then once again, there's 1 makeup. So 3 makeups, right? Really not ideal. Once again, I'm losing a second and a half to 2 seconds on those makeups. And yeah, honestly, I wish I would have just committed to shooting all those targets static and not trying to be a hero and take them on the entry, because taking them on the entry is just resulting in makeup shots, which is then costing me way more time rather than to just absolutely explode into position, settle, wait for my dot to stabilize, and then shoot and just guarantee 2 alphas or Alpha Charlie. And that would have been better. I would have been better off doing that. So overall, not a horrible stage, 81%, but still lower than I wanted.
Stand by.
All right, so final stage of the day. This was stage 19. Had a decent run on this. This was an 88% run, so a little bit better. I ran this into 1676 with 6 Charlie and 1 Delta, so the equivalent of 8 Charlie on a 31 round course of fire. It's a little high. I would have really liked to see just 6 Charlie. 6 Charlie and a Delta is not great, but is what it is. So I think everyone's stage plan was pretty similar here. The only thing different is I took these 2 targets and then this open target and then this open target, because you had to take this one from this position. But I wanted to take this one because I wanted to kind of mimic stage 15, where I was flowing through and I didn't really stop. That was my goal. So then take that one on the move, and then my goal through this this second position here was to roll through position, but I didn't really do that. I ended up stopping. I was really hoping I could go bop, 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 like, and then keep moving forward, but I didn't. So probably would have saved me 3/4 of a second if I did do that. But once again, like with a no-shoot there, is it worth it to throw, a no-shoot? Probably not. So see, I got my weak side reload done. Nice and fast right there, to the point to where my gun was up and I shot really early. Well, I guess not as early as I'd like, but still relatively early. Like as I was entering, it was okay. A little bit of makeup there. And then a makeup on steel, which that makeup on steel was pretty fast. That was probably like a 0.4. I could look up in the time chart, but yeah, it's probably a 0.4 second split. So overall, not a bad stage. An 88% stage. I mean, if you have every stage at an 88% stage, you're going to make it in Super Squad. So, by consistency standards, an 88% run is really not bad at all. I'm actually okay with that. But, considering the other, stage or 2 that wasn't super awesome, I probably could have done a little bit better. But overall, day 1 was pretty good. I was feeling pretty good after day 1. Going into day 2, I felt like I had a good amount of aggression, and I made no egregious mistakes other than on stage 17 with the static stand and shoot stage with the bobber and the steel. That was egregious, and that was that cost me 20% on that stage. But other than that, I felt pretty good about day one, and was pretty confident going into day two. So, guys, those are the first 7 stages of day one of USPSA Factory Gun Nationals here in 2025. So stay tuned for the next video, day 2, and we'll talk about how day 2 went. Thanks, guys, for watching. We'll see you in the next video.